Awesome.
You're live. But I was
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I guess we will not be waiting for more people. My name is Max. I'm the CEO of the project. I've been working on all sorts of trial projects with Jakub for a long, long time. And we've known each other for maybe more time than
a little bit longer.
I wish we knew each other. But anyway, no. So we were working and we're friends together for a long time, for 10 years. And I've known Pedro for a while, who's also on the call. Jakub is the CTO of the project, and Pedro is the COO, Chief Operating Officer. And without further ado, we'll just start with our post-ICO Ask Me Anything live stream. And first of all, thank you so much for your support, guys. It really means a lot to us that our vision that we've created, that we've actually started to create about 2.5 years ago, end of 2015. That's when I was talking to Norm Rose, one of our advisors. And we came a long way. And now finally we have the resources and we have enough time on our hands. Instead of running an ICO, now we have time to focus 100% on the product. And we've been doing a lot of strategizing, a lot of meetings with our advisors to figure out exactly how it's going to be done in the past few months, even during the ICO, which was, as you understand, a whole separate effort. But it went great. 15,000 Ether or about that. And the support from the community, the support that we have from our partners in the travel space, and a lot of people, by the way, I'm not going to utter their names, they will stay anonymous, but a lot of people from travel companies participated in the ICO, which just shows us how that idea resonates with them. And again, there was a lot of support from all around. Pedro, Jakub, would you like to add something before we get to the questions? And we'll try and answer as many questions as possible, and that's why I would suggest that we would just go very fast.
Pedro?
No, just hi, everyone. Thank you again for your support. I couldn't agree more with what Max was saying. The important thing here is that we're changing an industry, and it wouldn't be possible without the community behind it. It's a community project for the community, by the community. Yeah, looking forward to drilling through these questions.
First question: when is the wine entry platform going to be usable by hotels? It's a good one. As you know, we've started with hotels, airlines, car rentals. The rest will come later. Hotels is a great use case. And we work with our partners, such as Nordic Choice Hotels. We already work with them on smart contracts. We already have transactions on the testnet. And we're planning to launch, to have transactions on the mainnet within the next few months, probably this summer.
Yeah, I'm looking for that.
Awesome.
For sure. Working on it.
When is the project? Where is the project at in relation to the roadmap in the white paper? Is it on schedule? So the white paper, and I've heard a few people saying that the white paper roadmap in the white paper is a little bit out of date. It does mean that we're not on schedule. We have a few things. We have new opportunities. We have to prioritize everything that we have on our hands right now. So what's been going on during the ICO? And as you know, the past 3 months were absolutely crazy. We postponed the ICO. It was supposed to be happen in November. And we did a great job. The fact that we postponed the ICO helped us a lot, because during that time, we signed up a few more partners and we made this ICO much more successful as it would have been if we only had Lufthansa, for example, right? So we have Air New Zealand. We will be announcing a few more partners. I don't know if I can say that, but there's not a lot of people here anyway. We have Citizen M. We have a few more airlines signing up, and Dave, our head of strategy, is working very hard on that. And we have a lot of inbound interest from all sorts of companies in the travel space, not just hotels, not just airlines. There are railway companies out of Italy and elsewhere in Europe reaching out to us and saying, how can we put our inventory on your platform? There are companies that have lounges in the airport, at airports around the world reaching out to us and saying, how can we use your platform to sell our stuff? So we're kind of overwhelmed with the response and with the inbound interest. And right now what we're doing, the ICO is over. We still have a few things to finish, by the way, but the ICO is basically over. And now we are meeting with all of our partners and we're reevaluating all the timelines and everything. But roughly what you have in the white paper, we will be on time. Some things will change, as it is with all the companies, but we are on time. Exchange listings. Our philosophy about exchanges is this. We will not be concentrating on listing WindingTree on exchanges. What is our business? Our business is to create an open source protocol, make it successful. Yes, exchanges will be a part of that success, but that's definitely not something that is going to make us successful, right? Product is one thing. Signing up partners is very important, much more important than just exchanges. So we've just, today we were listed on Yobit exchange, right? And we were just tweeting about it and promoting that. And that, like we didn't spend a dime on that, and they listed us themselves. And that's how it should be happening. Exchanges are in the business of adding successful projects to their listings so they can make money, right? It's not our job. It's not the job of the projects to absolutely, as soon as possible, to be listed on top 30 exchanges. Someone in the WindingTree chat was suggesting that. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. We are not in the business. We would need to hire a separate person, maybe 2 people, to get listed on top 30 exchanges and pay like $1 million just for that, or even more, because some of those exchanges are asking for like $100,000 per exchange. That's ridiculous. No, our project will be successful. Those exchanges will catch up. And again, we are here in the business of building a protocol, building a platform, building a network, not in the business of enabling speculation. We are already on a few exchanges, but we're here in the long term. I hope you guys will agree with us that long-term vision is more important than short-term gain. Pedro, I think you will be answering this one. How do you plan? How, Pedro, do you plan to attract airlines, hotels, and other travel industry suppliers to the WindingTree platform?
Yeah, so one was how come there's no hype around the project? And this is a good question if you're coming from the crypto community and looking to quote unquote invest in a project. But if you're talking to anybody in the travel space, it would be the exact opposite. Most companies in the travel B2B space know about WindingTree. It is the top company that most travel companies are talking to. And we actually have to do at this point very little to attract new airlines. I'm speaking to new airlines every day. Max is speaking to them. Dave, our head of strategy, is also speaking to a number of airlines, and that's just in the airline space, hotels as well. So unlike any other business that I've worked in before, the inbound flow is extreme, and we're at the right place at the right time. So I think that we're going to be seeing a lot more traction with partners, but we're working with them to realistically use the product, not just name drop or something like that. And that's why our main focus right now is on the product, getting the product in their hand, working with them to get them using that product as soon as possible. So you'll be hearing some more news from us soon.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to add that WindingTree is the company that created this notion of blockchain changing the travel space. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, and my profile is on the website, it's on windingtree.com. Go to my profile and check one of the articles. It's called Travel Industry's Invisible Battle. It was written in December of 2016. And that article kickstarted this whole conversation about blockchain in the travel space. No one else was talking about that before. And yeah, if you go to travel conferences, we go to random events all the time. I mean, travel events, all sorts of different events. And we were just at an event a couple of days ago, ITB Berlin. We were at a dinner with 20 high-profile hoteliers, and we're talking about blockchain, and I was talking about it, and one of the guys at the other side of the table, he said, "Oh yeah, we're talking to Winding Tree, this amazing company, on the blockchain space and travel, and we're watching them, and we want to work with them, et cetera, et cetera." I'm like, "Hello, guys, this is us, right?" There is no notion of other permissionless blockchain in the travel space out there. And as Pedro said, right now we are deciding with whom we can talk, because we don't have enough resources to talk to everyone, to every travel company that reaches out to us.
Respond.
Yeah, can you respond to that? So do you have plans to switch to a different blockchain? Potentially.
Well,
if Ethereum doesn't work out,
it's very, very rough question, because like I think we all will see how the environment, all the blockchain environment will evolve in the upcoming months and years. And don't forget that blockchain is just one part of the whole infrastructure, or the whole technology that we are working on. But at the moment, we do have smart contracts written in Solidity, which is the programming language for Ethereum. So anything Solidity compatible, we can use, right? Good thing is that thanks to one of our advisors and our partners, Zeppelin OS, the code is pretty well done, and there will be like a lot of upgrades that will make it even better. And you can see our partnerships. There is like, we're definitely exploring all the options. There's Rootstock, there's all the things. Just follow the project, I think, and it will be there.
What can we, as a community, that's someone that's asking, right? Not me. What can we as a community do to help grow the platform and assist in the development of the project at this point? That's a really good question, and I really like the person who asked that. I think that's the right question to ask. We need to do a lot of things. We have to build a product. Everything that we're doing is open source. So if you have any developer experience, if you are working at a travel company and you have developers, make them look at our code base, drive awareness, talk to your fellow travel companies about what we're building, about the vision here. There's a lot of confusion going on out there with the big guys like Amadeus, TUI, I think Sabre as well, driving this notion of private blockchains, which is utter nonsense, right? So, hey, this public blockchain is not working, therefore we're going back to everything centralized, and we'll have thousands of transactions per second. Ridiculous. I was just speaking yesterday, literally, at ITB Berlin. I was on the panel with a guy from TUI and a guy from Amadeus, and hopefully that was an interesting conversation to the people there, because I just called them out on their bullshit. Sorry for the word. Drive awareness, talk to people, educate yourself about public blockchains, not about private blockchains. And on the other hand, of course, if you are a travel company, read our white paper, spread the word about it, that kind of stuff, and participate, of course, in the development. Everything. Our code is on GitHub. What else? Yeah,
join GitHub, join Rocket Chat, join our channels to stay in touch. Of course, like being a developer, you can definitely go through all the code base. It's not that many, I would say. Like 3 main components right now. Do that.
I would like to integrate Winding Tree API for bookings. Who's the right point of contact? A lot of people ask us about that. What we're building is a protocol, kind of like HTTP or Linux, right? So the idea is that you don't have to talk to anyone to use a blockchain. Do you have to speak to someone to use Bitcoin? No. Do you have to speak to someone to use Ethereum? No. It's the case with us. We have about 15 people on the team right now, and we have hundreds of companies reaching out to us every week. We won't be able to talk to everyone. So please go onto our website. Please go into our GitHub. Please read the white paper. The platform is by no means fully functional right now, so bear with us. Subscribe to our mailing list. Go to our GitHub repositories, create issues, take a look at the code, do that kind of stuff. And the documentation, we're working on all those things. There will be a separate website for documentation about how to work with the APIs that we're creating and stuff. So, yeah, do you want to add something?
Like a lot of documentation is already in the repositories, in the README files. Of course, there can be always better job with documentation. On the other hand, as the development is going quickly, some documentation can get outdated pretty quickly. So we're working hard on that.
Right. So there is a question about the 5% of the LIFT tokens generated at the TG that the foundation will receive. So it's a really confusing question, because what we've done is 75% of all the tokens were issued to our backers, to our supporters, right? The foundation right now has 20% in our coffins, if you will, that we can distribute to the team, to the new developers, that we're hiring, all sorts of other employees, right? And maybe to incentivize some of our advisors and stuff, right? The 5% that we have right now, we don't have it. We will get it at the end of the MVM duration, which, because of the result of the ICO, $15 million, we will only receive in 2 years. The reason for that additional 5% that the foundation will receive is that we are a nonprofit foundation. Right now, we have the resources after the ICO to work on this protocol that we're creating. But again, that money will not be infinite. That money will run out at some point. So the additional 5% of LIFT tokens is for our use in the long term. So if the foundation in 5 years, let's say, needs an influx of cash for whatever reason to kickstart another project for something else, we will use, or we could use those 5% of tokens, sell them on the market, and have a little more money to sustain the project. Again,
I think what's also important to note here is that Winding Tree team does not, besides the founder share and the early employees, it doesn't have a pool of LIFT that it can use. So I get this a lot with people that reach out to us asking for reward in tokens. Why don't you just give out tokens? And, everybody else is airdropping. Why can't you do that, right? We don't actually have tokens to give away. We don't have tokens to give to exchanges, for example. It is that 5% that's set aside, right? So once the product is live and once it's validated throughout the project, only then does the foundation have access to those funds, which I think makes a lot more sense than spraying a currency everywhere that you just created and giving that impression that you created it out of thin air.
Right. Mm-hmm. Next question. How do you intend to change the behavior of the travel agencies who are used to use Amadeus, GDSs, and OTAs and stuff like that? This is a really good question. I get it a lot. And the answer is by being as open as possible, right? And I tell this story at conferences sometimes when I speak about innovation and stuff. I'm comparing the HTTP protocol or the World Wide Web protocols that were created by Tim Berners-Lee at CERN, not far from here, just a couple thousand kilometers.
And underground.
And underground too. That guy's cool. But anyway, so he created in 1993, he released those protocols, and CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, specifically said, we do not own this. We don't want to own this. This invention belongs to the public. It's in public domain. So anyone can play with it. Anyone can take it. Build on top of that mix it with something else. It's open, right? And not a lot of people know, for a reason, that there was a competing protocol at the time, insanely popular. It was widely popular, more popular there than www. It was called the Gopher protocol. And the reason you don't know about it is that it was open in the very beginning, but then they decided to charge a licensing fee for their server software or something like that. And of course, everyone immediately switched to the open protocol. So what's happening here? How innovation happens? Innovation happens when you can iterate very, very quickly with little resources on an idea. So let's say you want to build, I don't know, a new website or something like that. Of course, you're going to choose technologies that are freely available, right? You're going to choose a free template first to test it out, because maybe your idea doesn't work out. And that's how we innovate. In Silicon Valley, we say fail fast, not because you want to fail, but because you want to find all those ideas that didn't work out very, very quickly. With technologies that have these gatekeepers, like in the case of the Gopher protocol, right? So they had this gatekeeper who said, yeah, we will be selling the licensing fee, or there will be a licensing fee, right? So you have to pay. So of course, as a developer, I don't know, an 18-year-old in his basement working on some crazy things, no, he's not going to do that. So our plan is to be as open as possible. So in 5 years, when you want to create an airline or a hotel or any other company around for the travel space, you want to create an algorithm that would suggest hotels, how they should be pricing their rooms, right? Of course, you're going to choose a technology that's open and freely available. And that's precisely what we're doing. You're not going to go to Amadeus and talk to them for months just so they can give you their data, access to their API. So you will have to go through ridiculous registration processes and stuff like that. You will go to an openly available protocol and use it. So that's our plan. And at that conference that I mentioned yesterday, ITB Berlin, the guy from Amadeus, he was very funny. He said, we are creating an open ecosystem for travel companies. And I really wanted to add when I was on stage, it will be open from 9 to 5. Like, really, that's what they can do, right? They control everything. They are gatekeepers. They can charge you whatever they want in 5 years, or today or tomorrow, right? We're creating a completely open ecosystem. Pedro, I know you want to add something.
No, I couldn't agree more. I was just looking at the next question already.
Got it. Do you want to take it then?
Sure. So the next question is same question, but for airline companies. Besides the cost incentive, how can you convince them to change from a very robust system to a new one and provide the stock flight on the live? Same question again for the hotels. So when speaking to airlines and hotels, it's a different game. For hotels, the cost saving is actually really big. The percentages that they pay are so high that it's a no-brainer that the cost incentive is really the number one reason, right? With airlines, it's not as much. They have a pretty good position. They do have some leverage as a major carrier. So it goes beyond just cost saving, right? So the cost saving is great for both. But just yesterday, I was speaking to one of the major airlines of the world, and one of the questions that they had was, who owns the data on the platform, and can we integrate with it and add it to our dashboards without any intermediation from you? And I was like, yes, that's exactly what we're working towards. And it goes beyond that as well, beyond just the open flow of data, which is what they're looking for. The innovation and the elimination of that barrier to entry that Max was describing, where you no longer have to go through a gatekeeper, you no longer have to go through months of negotiating with an intermediary, means that there will be a lot of innovative ways of selling travel that we have not even imagined. If you look at the history of transport, prior to the combustion engine, travel had been the same for 2,000 years. I remember reading that a trip for George Washington took as long for, I think it was 300 miles as it took for Julius Caesar so many years before, right? But then once the combustion engine came along, transport accelerated tremendously, and there was a lot of stuff that we couldn't have imagined at that point beyond a train, right? And that's kind of what I feel that Winding Tree is bringing for the travel industry is we're all looking at, you book on a site with millions of options that obscure your vision and give you a headache because there's so many different options that you don't need. And we're saying, hey, let the best man win, open that market up, let people compete with service and product rather than on monopoly and politicking, right? And that's something that travel companies are very excited about as well.
Can you talk about our relationship with Lufthansa Group as well? So the question involves they talk about the relation of IBM with Stellar, and both are building private blockchains. I don't know what is the comparison here. I'm not sure what IBM is doing exactly with Stellar. I know that they have some sort of partnership. I don't know the details. What about Lufthansa?
So what Winding Tree is doing with any airline would be different than what they would do with any other blockchain. Like we said earlier in the talk, Winding Tree is the only decentralized blockchain project in travel, specifically for distribution. So whether a company uses blockchain for storing, HR details or whatever, has nothing to do with what Winding Tree is doing. We're focused specifically on distribution. And what Lufthansa is doing with Winding Tree is they are trying a decentralized marketplace for listing their inventory, and they're providing a lot of feedback because they want us to succeed. They want us to succeed more than almost anybody outside of the actual founding team, I would say, because airlines and hotels, they need this change. They want to see a free open market where they're not held ransom by their own inventory, right? And so they're helping us a lot with tech insight. We did some workshops with them, and we're doing the same with Air New Zealand and with the other airlines that we're talking to and planning to work with. We will be doing workshops with them as well. And so it's very important, especially at this early stage with the airline product. We're still at the very early stages of the airline product. So we need that industry insight, and those who have a vested interest in the sense of not an investment, but as in they're committed to trying the tech. They have a lot that they can contribute, right? And so we're looking for more airlines that can contribute, different categories of airlines, low-cost carriers, for example, so that we can have all angles at how this tech can change the industry.
Yeah, I would also add that. Just very quickly, all of our partners that are listed on the website, we have 3 different tiers of collaboration with them. One is they put a certain amount of money each. Another is that they provide, that's what Pedro was talking about, they provide their expertise, they provide their feedback. Some of the airlines and some of the hotels that we work with, they provide their developers that are working on our open source stuff. And that's what we would like to see from the travel companies that we're reaching out to. They're developers working on the open source protocol that we're creating. We cannot build in the vacuum. We need your feedback, guys. So again, go on our GitHub, start contributing. Even if you just want to create a pull request, if you have an idea about, hey, you have to have that functionality in the protocol, you have to have that data field, whatever.
Just one last thing. The first point that you mentioned, where they put some money in, prior to the ICO, they would actually buy tokens in the pre-sale. Now they'll be going to the market and purchasing from you, the community, actually, so that they can start working with the platform. They'll need tokens, right?
Right. So maybe it's a good segue in the next question. Is there an example of blockchain utility coin being adopted today in B2B, right? It's a good one. A lot of people that I talk to from airlines, from hotels, they're saying something along the lines of, what can you do for us today, right now? How can we drive, I don't know, our revenues or something like that up if we use your platform? And the answer is, you can. What we're building is a marketplace, right? We need a critical mass of organizations participating in that marketplace before it becomes useful, right? So I don't see utility token right now. Like, so what we do is we do distribution, right? Distribution is the main pain point. Choose any airline, choose any hotel, go and talk to them and ask them, what is the part, which part of the industry, which part of what you do is monopolized right now? And they will tell you distribution. So that's what we do. We are helping. Blockchain is a great tool for removing intermediaries when there is monopolistic or oligopolistic power. In terms of other things, a lot of people talk about loyalty. I don't think loyalty requires a company, a separate company, to handle that. Because with blockchains, you have that stuff out of the box. Loyalty is just a currency token, right? So as Hilton, I mean, Jakub has his own Jakub's beer token created, and that's how easy it is. Like it can be done in 5 minutes, right? So loyalty, I don't think it's a good example. Identification, we're not there. There are no good, truly decentralized identity providers today. There are really good attempts. There's Uport, for example, for one, but nothing else. Civic is horribly, horribly centralized, right? What else is there? I don't know. Well, what were other examples? I'm just thinking about how to. Yeah, that's about it. Loyalty.
I would add that I believe that the greatest use for tokens and cryptocurrency in general right now is B2B. I think it's much greater. The advantages are much greater than for consumer facing, because you don't have to incentivize in any way. It's two knowledgeable parties that know what they're getting into, that have all the necessary infrastructure in place, and that can to carry out those larger transactions where it makes a lot of sense to go with crypto.
Right.
I don't think there's a better place in B2B market.
How will Winding Tree affect travel agents, for good or bad, Pedro?
I think it will be good for travel agents. I have a lot of travel agents that reach out to me. I'm speaking to a number of them who want to access that inventory. They don't want to go through a gatekeeper anymore. They don't want to be held back or slowed down by old archaic technology. Also have some folks out of Singapore, for example, that are looking to build an interface for travel agents that are low tech. And they're really psyched about it. They said there's a huge vacuum for that. And the only reason why they had a hard time doing it in the past was because no one would give them inventory for that purpose, right? Because they wanted to give it to the right travel agents that are part of the right group of connections, right? So I think that there's a huge opportunity for travel agents, and for travel agents to compete on service and on quality instead of just who can lock down the best partnerships.
Right. And I just wanted to add that even Booking.com and Priceline and Expedia and everyone else can source inventory from our platform. It's completely open. We cannot control it. We cannot say, no, we like you and you will have inventory, and you we don't like and you won't be able to do that. But what it's going to create is competition. Now, if you have to spend just 5 days instead of 5 months developing an OTA and combining flights and hotels in an interesting way, you can compete. You can iterate very fast, right? And you can compete with Expedia. Like, you've invented some crazy new Instagram, Snapchat powered marketing tool that you can use to promote your website now. And you don't need months and months and a lot of money to spend on creating that. So what we create is competition on the side of travel agents, which is great for the consumer. There will be a market. There will be a price point that the market will decide upon. And there will be more features. There will be more personalization, you name it. So at the end of the day, we're better for the consumer. And another example that I talk about at conferences sometimes is 30 years ago, you had one choice. You have no choice now. You had one telephone company that you could use to call from, I don't know, New York to London, right? because all those open protocols and tools appeared today, I have a whole screen of applications on my phone that I can use anytime to call anyone in the world, basically, for free, instead of paying a really, really big bill if I do an international call 30 years ago, right? So that's the exactly the same change that we want to see here. We want to see the consumer winning. There will be different websites, applications, features when we have this open technology available for the market.
Marketing spend. So the next question is, what is part of the budget dedicated to marketing communications, and how will it be used exactly? So this is a question we've gotten for quite a few people, again, asking about where's the hype, where's the noise around Winding Tree and so on. So this is something that we're discussing right now with our advisors. Some of us had the opinion of doing much less marketing. Some were of the opinion of doing a little more. But the general consensus is this. This year, while we're developing the product, we will be slightly lower key because we don't want to direct a lot of funding at hyping something that isn't fully there, right? So we want to get the MVP out to fruition, and we then expect to raise our level of marketing beyond that. So we're still finalizing the numbers, but some of the things that you should expect from us as far as marketing spend in the coming months would be in the area of branding. So branding, more complete branding of the product and website and all of our communications, and also organizing meetups and hackathons to attract more of that open source developer community, which we need. We have some open source contributions, but we want to promote more and more of that. So a lot of our focus is in those directions right now, rather than the traditional ICO as a product marketing approach, which is a lot of noise everywhere and competing on ad spends and paying insane amounts for ads that really don't add value to the product and just create hype and buzz, right?
Right. There is I've just started to read the next question. Once Winding Tree is holding inventory that is 10, 15, 20% cheaper than the same room or flight on booking sites, I'm like, no. Winding Tree doesn't hold any inventory. We're not Booking.com. We are not reaching out to hotels and buying inventory from them and reselling for more. Absolutely. So what we're building, truly, guys, is just a protocol on the Ethereum platform that is, you have out of the box, you have a functioning network that you can use already. We can use all the miners that Ethereum provides, or when we switch to, I don't know, if and when we switch to some other blockchain, be it Rootstock or something else, you have a functioning network, kind of like the internet out of the box. So we do not hold inventory at all. But the question is, I would imagine that as the solutions appear, the incentive to add inventory will also increase for current and new partners. That's part of the question. I'm still reading it. With this chicken and egg paradox, what front-end solutions and applications do you envision being the first to arrive over the next 12 to 18 months? Websites probably, and all sorts of different applications that sell inventory to the consumers. But also what we have to work on is interfaces for our suppliers. And again, by saying us, I mean the community as a whole, not just us as the developers of the core protocol, right? And we already have companies, again, reaching out to us on the supply side of things, let's say bed and breakfast or B&Bs, right? And they want to integrate with our platform. Nothing is stopping them from releasing their interface for listing your Airbnb on our platform through our protocols. We have no control over it. You can do whatever you want, as long as it's compliant with some of the rules, some of the protocol details. But there will be no gatekeepers. So applications on the supply side of things, where you can put inventory on the blockchain, be it airlines, hotels, B&Bs, and applications on the demand side of things, on the customer-facing side of things, where people will be buying hotels, flights from, stuff like that.
The last part was just like, if we encourage front-end development through any further partnerships. I would say the biggest encouragement here is like building the platform and of course like attracting the suppliers to put data onto this network.
And again, the best encouragement here is the openness.
Yeah.
In 5 years, you have a choice: Amadeus or this open, or a phone company, or this completely open HTTP thing that hackers are talking about. Of course, it's a no-brainer. The timeline for Air API, and how will your system handle disruption? Airline API. So what we're doing right now is this. In the next 6 months, we will hold a few workshops with our airline partners. And again, we're constantly working on new partnerships. Right now, we have Lufthansa and Air New Zealand, both from Star Alliance, and we're talking to a few more Star Alliance members, but not just them. We're talking to more airlines, and our advisors are helping us with that. Our goal is to arrive to the common denominator, right? What is the part, and we have a few interesting ideas. We're not going to talk about the details right now, as to what it's going to be, right? It's in the fulfillment, it's in the settlement side of things, those who are familiar with the airline industry and their problems. The APIs will be available probably in about a year and a half. So that's the timeline for real airline transactions. Why? Because airline systems and revenue management systems are much more complicated. Hotels are easier, and that's the reason we're starting with hotels. So yeah.
But at the same time, again, like working on the work.
Absolutely.
And of course, like evaluating all the APIs that are out there. Some of them took quite some time to build them.
Do you intend to promote your project to more airlines and hotels? Duh, guys. The story is too good to be true. What are the possible problems you may encounter? I think the biggest problem right now we have is education. So a lot of people, even some of the backers of the project who just heard, hey, it's exciting. They don't understand exactly what we do. We're trying our best to explain it. The reason many people don't understand it, because not many people understand blockchain in general. Some people think blockchain is a currency, or Bitcoin is just a currency. No, it goes so much further than that. So I think education is the biggest obstacle that we see right now. And the lack of education is exactly what allows big guys and all sorts of other companies just to say, hey, we're going to have this person's beard on the blockchain. What does it even mean, right? It doesn't make any sense. Hey, we're going to have our own private blockchain. I ask them, what are you going to do with it? Why is it useful to you? Well, our different departments are using different technologies, and by convincing them to use blockchain, they will use the same technology. It doesn't make any sense. Just use an SQL database, right? Oh, no. Our different partners and organizational units are doing something else. We need an internal currency to transact in. But you are one company. All of your departments are trusting each other already. You only need a blockchain where there is no trust, right? Why do you need it? No answer. Private blockchains are nonsense. But those big companies, not just travel companies, but also big technology companies, I've been in a few meetings where they show you a bunch of circles and a bunch of squares, and they're connected somehow, and they're saying, hey, we're gonna provide a blockchain to you. Just use it. It's a no-brainer. You just sign up and you create a BlueMix account. Oh, sorry, I gave it out. And I'm asking them, who is going to host those nodes? Oh, we got to host it for you. It's all good, right? So they can shut it down anytime. They can change it anytime. What are you talking about? But the lack of education allows those companies to, I don't know, to abuse people, to abuse their trust, and convincing them that what they're doing is somehow related to blockchains. No, it's not related to blockchains. And the same reason why Ripple is a scam. It's not a blockchain, right? Everything is private. Why do they need a blockchain anyway? Next question. When do you expect the Winding Tree platform to be fully ready? A software project is never ready. Is HTTP protocol ready? It's in its final version? Absolutely not. It's developing all the time. So it's never going to be ready. We can talk about when we will have MVPs for different areas of the travel industry, and that's what we've already discussed. For hotels, it's the summer. Airlines, next year and a year and a half. Yep, so I think I answered that question well. You are connected with plenty of strong partnerships. How strong do you work with them?
Very strong.
Very strong. Yeah, I would say.
This much.
I can. So first of all, anytime the blockchain platform is a partner, always check the partner page. I can't emphasize this enough, of the actual company that they're listing on their website, because a lot of projects will list major companies when they have, they've exchanged an email with them or something, right? So like Maxime mentioned, we're working very strongly with our partners. Right now, as we speak, some of our tech guys are in the offices of one of our partners doing a workshop on airline space, right? And how to work with them. And we've done the same with some of our other partners. We're working very actively to create the ideal developer experience for airlines so that it fits like a glove and it feels like something that they would have created, only more open source, and I would say more innovative as a result.
How can small contributors benefit from the project? So now you have a little bit of lift on your hands, how you can use those lifts to book hotel rooms and airline tickets and stuff. Bear with us. You will be able to do that very soon.
Yeah, and if somebody out there has the idea to create a website where you can book hotels and airlines with Lyft, it'd be very easy for an outside developer to do. Our focus is on B2B because we don't want to be a gatekeeper. We don't want to have too much control with placements and all that. But it's an open source project. Go out there and build a tool if you're a developer for booking with Lyft, and you could solve that problem yourself.
Great.
It is a competitive advantage, anyways. Like to work on the project in this early stage.
Correct. Performance is a key factor for travel companies and systems. What kind of performance are you targeting to achieve? So we have this question mostly from people from the travel industry that they don't know a lot about blockchain space, about the performance. And that's one of the reasons for big companies to say, no. Bitcoin only can transact seven transactions per second. And therefore, it's not usable at all. So they've never heard about Lightning Network. They've never heard about state channels, Raiden, Polkadot, sharding, and all those things that actually help the platform scale. The question about how many transactions will you be able to do on your platform, what is your target, is like asking Tim Berners-Lee, hey, you are creating this protocol for computers to connect to each other. How many phone calls will people be able to do on your platform in 10 years? We can only speculate. That question doesn't quite make a lot of sense. Sorry. Your roadmap had an assumption before getting funded that, sorry, I have to understand the question first.
They're talking about changing
the timeline. The timeline. Yes, we've already talked about it.
Roadmap now that we've hit the ICO, and I think that's a good, valid question. And we may have some tweaks to the roadmap now that we're actually working on the project. We actually have the developers, and we're hiring more developers, by the way. And I think we'll be able to update the roadmap a little bit. Yeah.
Right. How do you plan to handle room seat inventory? Very simply, provider puts their inventory onto the platform. someone can have inventory on the other side of the marketplace. Hopefully we're answering your question.
Well, maybe again, because it is a like technological platform, the best way is to check out what we have. Like we are like evaluating all the APIs that are out there, all the like possible candidates that we could use. We have like a very simple API that we've come up with some of our partners. So just like, yeah, pushing data like through this, like via this structure, and then somebody else will be able to obtain the data, stuff like that.
I can take the next one. How do you plan? Sorry, you go for hotels. So how about Airbnb? So as we mentioned, our plan is to go for hotels first, then airlines, and eventually we will branch out to other areas such as tourism, alternative lodging, which would be Airbnb, car rentals, and so on. But the reason why we've chosen this order, this prioritization, is naturally that hotels and airlines are much bigger. As Maxime mentioned, hotels are a lot simpler, so we started with hotels. But beyond simpler, there's business logic to it as well for our partners. So a lot of the airlines that we speak to, for example, they book crew in the various cities that they frequent. And that's something that's very appealing to them, is to be able to start using our hotel platform, even though they're an airline. So it makes sense in that our airline partners can already start using our hotel tool that we start with. We expand to airline, and once you have airline, then you can start using all those other sides, like the car rentals, like the alternative lodging or Airbnb. There's a lot more than just Airbnb in that space, by the way. The OTAs are focused very heavily on alternative lodging. It's a hot growing market, right? And we will eventually get there, but right now we're focused on hotels and airlines because it's a much bigger problem.
And again, I just wanted to say that one step at a time. We don't have any resources. It's impossible for any company to do everything at the same time and be successful everywhere. So baby steps.
Also, that's why we are talking to and we announce the partnerships with some of the bigger guys, because we need their expertise. But if you look at if you like just like think about it, that like how different is hotel room from your apartment, right? Like, so you like if you think about the data that you could put into the blockchain, it would be the very same. I think the value of Airbnb or Booking.com is somewhere else. It's just like the connection to the customers.
We have two really good questions. You're done. Sorry.
I am done.
So OTA tax up to 20%, 25% on the price of tickets. In the airline space, it's different. 25% that's OTAs. Maybe GDSs take a different amount. And person is saying, I just booked a plane ticket last week with some website, and I checked then the price on the airline website, and the price for the same ticket was more expensive. What is the deal? How can you compete with that? Again, we're not competing here with anyone. We are just a protocol that all sorts of travel companies can exchange information through, right? It's kind of like the internet, and blockchain technology many times was called the next internet, right? So what happens here is we don't know their business models. Perhaps that company that you bought that ticket from pre-bought some inventory from that airline a year ago, and now they're running some sort of promotion. They're trying to compete with another website, and they're trying to decrease their price. And very likely that maybe they're losing money right now by selling that ticket to you cheaper. Maybe they have a special deal with that airline. Maybe that airline has a partnership or some sort of agreement with a GDS or many other websites where they have to maintain that price that they said to those websites. But with that website, they don't have that agreement. So a lot of different things can happen here. Doesn't mean that we're not competitive here. Again, it's a protocol. The internet does not compete on the price with Amazon. That's, it's completely different levels. And the last question, why do we need a blockchain? Why can't you just make a website run by a nonprofit foundation that would provide the same service? Pedro. Sorry, I got him.
So an outside travel industry question. So the number one, I was listening to a talk by Sam Shanks, who's the founder of Hotel Tonight, which is arguably one of the more successful, more innovative apps out there in the travel space. And he was saying that the number one, he was asked on stage during the Q&A, what was the number one challenge to building his company? And he said sourcing inventory by far. Which was interesting to hear, because this is a very reputable individual who had a really successful track record in the Valley with, I think, 2 other companies prior, which were very successful, and he still had a hard time sourcing inventory. So the real problem is not creating a website. Anybody can create a website. It's sourcing the inventory, right? Second reason is a lot of travel blockchain projects that have shown up very recently. They all provide a website where they can sell travel, so that it's very tangible for somebody who's going to invest in something, and it's very easy to say, hey, look what we have. You can book 3 different apartments, and you throw your money at us. But the fact of the matter is that if your product is a website, you are a gatekeeper. Who chooses what content goes up on your website? Who removes content that's inappropriate, right? Who controls everything on the website? It would be that gatekeeper. It would be Winding Tree if we were doing that. So our goal here is not to be the new gatekeeper. It's not to be the new Airbnb or the new Expedia. We're not any of that. It's a completely decentralized project for facilitating that kind of innovation. So once Winding Tree's up and running, you're going to see hundreds of projects like those that you're seeing now being touted as innovative blockchain users. The real blockchain users will be those that build websites on to Winding Tree using Winding Tree inventory. That's the real innovator. They're taking that inventory, the decentralized inventory, and they're making it available in the best packaged way, instead of trying to fool people into thinking that they're decentralized.
That was like last question that we have here.
I couldn't,
amazing job.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine like better ending. You nailed it. You nailed it. I wanted to say exactly the same.
That's awesome.
And it's an hour, so I think we don't want to bother you anymore.
We will try and hold this kind of AMAs once in a while, probably once a month, so people can ask questions, and maybe we'll be making some announcement on this live stream. So stay tuned, sign up for our newsletter, go check out our GitHub profile, and just keep following the project. Thank you for your support once again. Without you guys, without our backers, without our supporters, this would not be possible. So we're really, really grateful for this.
Yeah.
Shoot us questions.
Oh, sorry.
Shoot us questions.
Yes, send questions.
Yeah, sign up for the newsletter. Those of you who are worried about like the whole crypto fluctuation and all that kind of stuff, don't worry about that. Focus on the product updates that we're going to be sharing in our newsletter. The product update is a lot more important. And the question again about how can we contribute? We'd love to hear some ideas, share them, and we'll find ways to support you guys in promoting the project. I think that was a very good question from you, yeah, looking forward to more along those lines.
Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.